Hello, welcome to Tony's Bonsai. 12 months ago, just before I started my YouTube channel, I put together my first raft-style bonsai using a Southern Beech or Nothofagus, and I think it's time to take a look and see how it's doing. Similar to the hawthorn that I worked on in the pig trough recently, I basically laid this tree down, roots at this end, trunk coming round, and these branches are sort of faced upwards as new trunks. This one's somewhat problematic because it's leaning off to the side. Might have to have a look at that later. But first thing is to get it out of this soil and see if the roots have grown. I think this might be quite challenging because I remember I planted this on sphagnum moss, so I don't know how sort of sturdy the root ball's going to be. Oh, it's tied in. That's always a good thing to sort out. That came out quite nicely. My plan from here is to just do a bit of an explore really and see what I've got. The tree, as I say, was planted in sphagnum moss and surrounded by this soil. It's a really good quality soil. It's a mixture of pumice and lava rock. I had some lying around at the time, so I used it on this project because this was one of my big projects that I was really excited about, and I still am. We've got a few bits of roots in the surface, but not too many. My plan is just to remove the initial top layer and see what roots I've got. See, I've got a massive root here, but I suspect that comes from all the way down at the bottom. What I really want to know is have these rooted, you know, the actual branches and the underneath of this trunk. Has this set any roots down? Oh, I can see some roots coming there out of the bottom of this one. And as I say, I need to do some work on a couple of these trees, and I think it's best to just have a look, see what's happening, untangle and maybe prune off a few of these very long roots like this one here. And hopefully remove some of this moss that I just don't think is necessary anymore. See, this long root has come all the way around the pot. And here's the trunk. See, the other reason that I want to explore today is because ideally I would like to expose this trunk because I don't want it to start rotting, you know, as it sits kind of underneath all this soil and near the moss. See, we've got major roots have appeared from this junction here, which is interesting. These Nothofagus, they do root really well. They're well known for putting out roots and sort of ground layering and stuff, so they're a really good choice for this kind of project. And as I remove this moss now, we're beginning to see that it's put down quite a set of roots, and already I'm sure I could cut this trunk off and this would be okay surviving just on the roots that it's got. Oh, I couldn't have even hoped for this kind of success. This is superb. Lovely. So as we come in here now, we can really begin to see the lovely roots that have been put out by this tree. I mean, that's quite a thick root there coming from the base. I don't need to go mad completely getting all of this moss off, but the more of it I can remove, I think the better. It doesn't need moss anymore. This will be fine just with bonsai soil. This was the largest branch, so this is going to be the thickest trunk. And as you can see the roots that are coming out from the actual trunk. These are the ones that I don't want. And this is definitely part of the reason that I wanted to expose these roots today. See, I'm happy with that root down at the bottom there. That's good. Now, I do have an issue that this is coming quite far back. I would like that to be more in this position, more vertical. But wiring these is really, really dodgy. So they tend to be very weak in the bark. And this is really stiff. So that's taking some pulling back, that. I'm wondering if I could do it. Yes, I'm going to do it with a guy wire once it's back in the pot. I'll use a guy to pull that across. This is the original root base of the tree. So I'm thinking this will just be absolutely full of roots. And the reason I'm going to expose it is because I'll probably prune some off in order that I hopefully begin to develop a root mass that can be kind of displayed. A bit like obviously a tree that's fallen over. The root bases have a certain look to them. And I want to try and recreate that in this root mass. In terms of the roots that I want on display, there's not really much of a kind of root base coming up there. So I'm thinking I'm going to change my design and turn this, not really have this root base as much of a feature. Therefore, I can remove some of these longer roots like that. I've taken a fair bit of root off there, but that's okay. There's still more than enough root for this tree there. The plan now is to just put it back in this trough for it to grow for another year or two before I think about putting it into a bonsai pot. Although it could probably go into a bonsai pot now. I wonder if I've got one. I don't think I've got anything big enough. No. That's just not quite long enough. Needs to be a few inches longer. No comment. I was just putting that pot back, and as I was walking back to the garage, I remembered this one that I built last year out of concrete. Maybe that'll fit. It's a bit bigger than that other one. It'll be a bit tight. Oh. It's pretty close, that, isn't it? I'd have to remove a fair bit of root, but I think I can remove more root off the back of this. I'm going for it. This is going to now be a less naturalistic composition, i.e. I'm not trying to make this necessarily look like a fallen tree. It's going to be more of a kind of oh, that's tough. It's quite hard, this Nothofagus. There we go. Right, so that's a fairly big, hard, thick lump that's come off. I can clean this edge off now. That's nice. And with a bit of luck, that will now fit. With these roots coming round like that into the pot there. Yes, done it. Right, so this kind of fits in nicely. I'm going to definitely have to somehow bend this around within the pot. The good thing about bending this around though is it'll add some really good sort of three-dimensional movement to the tree. And I'm going to do it not by adding a wire, but again by adding a guy wire to the trunk. I mean, I could prune this one completely off and have this as the end tree. That's an option. Or I bring that round here like that. I'm not sure on that now. Now that I think about it, do I even need this end one? I don't think I do. I think it's going to be better if I get rid of it. So I'm just removing it there. Okay, so we've got the tree sitting in this pot really nicely, which is great. You can see that this tree is coming back at too much of an angle. It's going to be very hard to use a guy wire to pull this. So I'm going to try using a piece of wire to force it apart. The technique is basically you cut the wire so that it's got a point on the end. And once you've got a nice sharp point like that on each end, the idea then is you just spike it into the trunk. So it's just going to create like a pinprick, and then the other end you spike into the trunk like that. Oh, that's holding it perfectly. Really happy with that. That's a good system. I've seen it done with copper wire, but that aluminium wire is plenty strong enough for a tree like this. And cover these holes with some scrim tape. And I'm going to put the soil back in that I removed. I'll just take out the bits of, the larger bits of moss that I can see lying around. So I get all that in there. That should give these roots plenty of nice soil to grow into. I then have to position the tree, and this is quite interesting. I think this branch at the back, I could either bring it forward, but it's a bit ugly. I think it's better brought around this way, like that. I just think it'll look a bit more subtle and natural. And then I'll just add the soil. I'm just wondering now that I look at it from the camera's side, whether it needs to be rotated that way a bit. Yes. Yeah, that's better. And this root really does need to be as far across to the edge of the pot as I can get it. I think in the future this could do with going in a slightly bigger pot, just a bit longer, maybe a bit thinner. In terms of pruning, I've got a large branch coming off here, which I think will be better removed. I don't want this one getting too big. However, I don't want to hold it back too much either. So I will remove a few of the branches off this tree. And also, I want these trees, these two trees, to be separate trees. You know, I don't want them sort of growing together too much. Over the years, I believe this is going to be a really fun project to work on. I've basically now got 4 trees, plus these ones here that come off this kind of bridge. I think that's going to be a really exciting composition and piece to work on. I'm really looking forward to it. As always, thanks for joining me. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.